It's time for the Voice of Reason podcast. Here are your hosts, Sean Phillips, Andy Van Beber, and Travis Kirkendall.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are here. We are with you. This is the Voice of Reason podcast. As always, my name is Sean Phillips. I am joined alongside my co-host, Mr. Andy Van Beber. We make up the Voice of Reason podcast. How are we doing tonight?
Red Kingdom. Yeah. You need to
I'm with
share.
you.
You need to share the story that you shared with me today about your coworkers at work with Taylor Swift. You need to share that real quick.
Oh God, yeah. Well, yeah. So I wasn't in work for more than 5 seconds. Like I walked in, I put my water bottle down, I sat down at my desk, and out of the corner, I hear some of my coworkers talk. And mind you, the funniest thing is when they talk about Taylor Swift, they don't say Taylor Swift. They say she. Like they like it is she as in she is one of us. And she's like, oh, she has done so much for our city. Like she is the reason why, like legit. One of them said she's the reason why the Chiefs are here. I just love them. I love them. I love her and Travis. And they are the reason. She's the reason why he's playing as well as he is. She's the reason why we're back. And oh my gosh, it's just I love everything about it. But you know what? I have turned a new leaf. Last night when I went to bed, when I woke up this morning, I thought about it and I was like, look, 95% of Chiefs fans have only been Chiefs fans for like 5 years, give or take. So it's not too late for me, and I have decided that I am on the train, the dynasty train. We are here. We are get every native out of the way. We will tomahawk, chop, and scalp you to the end zone because we are the Kansas City Chiefs.
I want to tell you something. As a
Red Nation.
I'm going to show you how long I've been a Chiefs fan. I have suffered through Elvis Gerback. I suffered through old Joe Montana. I suffered through Trent Green. Trent Green wasn't terrible, but he was coached by Herm Edwards, which that didn't help anything. I went through Herm Edwards as a head coach. I went through Marty Schottenheimer. I went through almost 20 years of Marty Schottenheimer. And I relish. Now, I'm realistic. I'm not going to be, because I know, like the Cowboys of the 90s, maybe one more year I'm going to relish this because we will go back to mediocrity. We will go back to mediocrity. And I'm relishing this time as much as I can. But who I want to give true kudos to, Brock Purdy is the man. I don't think I heard who was it? Is the guy who's the guy on Undisputed, the white guy?
Skip
Bayless.
No,
Skip,
Skip Bayless.
Skip Bayless.
No, who are the two? It's Skip and
it was
Colin
Shannon
Cowherd.
Yeah.
And
it may have been Colin Cowherd or Skip Bayless. But a few weeks ago, they were talking about how Brock Purdy was he's a game manager. He's a game manager. He manages the game. He's not a playmaker. What I saw last night, and I may be the Lone Ranger on this. I think last night after the first half, I thought we were going to have a Lions Chiefs Super Bowl. What was it? 21-7 at half. And I thought, man, this is over. This is over. And then, they come out the second half. Lions could have kicked that field goal. And I mean, I think Brock Purdy then he puts the team on his back. Let's go. And I mean, the guy was running. He was. I mean, the pocket was not his friend last night. The San Francisco O line I think is terrible, but I think that he was finding, Christian McCaffrey between him and Christian McCaffrey last night. Brandon Ayuk. There was one catch last night that Brandon Ayuk made that there was a loft pass and was going to be intercepted by a Lions, bounced off the guy's face mask. Brandon Ayuk dives out, catches it. I was thoroughly impressed with the 49ers in the second half last night. I thought it was an amazing game.
Well, yeah, because the second half of the week before that, they did the same thing where they came back. The thing about Brock Purdy, that regardless, so the one thing that gets me is when people, might say like, oh, he's a game manager, he's trash. It's okay. He was not supposed to be good. He was the very last pick
Mr. Irrelevant
of the draft a year ago. And you got to think, he came in. So the 49ers had Trey Lance, and then who was their other guy?
Garoppolo.
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy G.
So Trey Lance and Jimmy G both go out, and then Brock Purdy doesn't lose a game until the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the dude, call him a game manager all you want. He is proven to be the last 2 years, the best of the game managers. Because here's the thing, like, you want to talk about his inaccuracy. Here, my take on, as someone that has watched football for as long as I have, and when you take someone that's a rookie, and then they do as well as they do last year and they do as well as this year, there is still time where the throws that he misses, he can develop. He can get better as a passer. Look at Josh Allen. Yeah. Look at Josh Allen. But the fact is, he's doing it, and he does have a team around him that complements it perfectly.
He's got one.
The 49ers O-line, it's not that they're so bad. They had a hell of a defensive line that they had to go against last week, and they'll see in 2 weeks. But the funny thing is, I saw a post that actually it's not funny, but it made me laugh. It was like Dan Campbell is the first reported coach to this is the first coach, or what was it? I'm gonna butcher it. I apologize. Was Dan Campbell's the first case of coach with CTE? Like, I get
that's terrible.
That's terrible. People, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. The fourth people down, say, well, Dan Campbell all year, he kept that methodology where we're going. It's like, look at the games they lost. They did just that. And you do that in the playoffs against teams that are also not making mistakes all season long, you're going to get the result. And
he kicks those two. Yeah, he kicks those two.
Tough year for the Lions because Love is back.
He kicks those two field goals. They win that game by 3. He kicks those 2 field goals. They win the game by 3. That's all I gotta say about that. That was But I'm gonna leave my chief bantering to a minimum.
Your chief, it's our chief bantering. It is ours. I am Red Nation, and actually, as you were going back through, it's funny. I told Tony the story of Green Bay Packers legend Eddie Lacy yesterday. She was very confused why I was so happy to get this jersey. So Eddie Lacy is one of the first and few players that I know of that, thanks to Green Bay, actually ate themselves out of the National Football League after winning Rookie of the Year. It was a sad year as a Packers fans. We finally, after years of Amon Green and Ryan Grant, we finally got a rookie running back from Alabama, won Rookie of the Year with Aaron Rodgers, with the receivers we had. We were like, this kid is going to develop. We are going to a Super Bowl. And then the next year, Eddie Lacy had gained like 50, 60 pounds.
Oh, my.
And you could tell he was just in love with the cheese curds, the bratwurst, and by his 4th year was out of the NFL. He was one of the first running backs that actually had a weight limit clause in his contract with the Seahawks that didn't go that way. But now I've got myself a cheeseburger Eddie Lacy jersey, and we're here to
Well, one more thing before we get into tonight, I want to thank you and Travis for. I will be hopefully starting. This will be my first full week on Apple Fitness this week. I love for those of you who are looking at getting in shape. I encourage you. I'm not a paid.
I would love to hear. I would love to hear your experience with your first week on Apple Fitness, because I'll definitely give mine. Let's hear it.
Well, so I did, and Apple Fitness has a very. It's a very, what's the word I want to say? Accommodating. It's a very accommodating app for whatever body type you are, for whatever where you're at on your journey. And so I did. They have a whole section of just beginner workouts. And my first week, I've just been doing the beginning strength training. I haven't done any of the HIIT workouts yet because I don't know if and I'm not saying this jokingly, I don't know if my body can handle. So I do two. I've been doing, so last week I did two 10-minute strength workouts with two different guys. So now I think this next week I'm confident enough. There's a beginner 20-minute strength workout with this other gal that I'm going to try. That's what I'm going to get into tomorrow. And and they play, and Sean knows that I'm a music file. I'm someone who, if I'm working out, I want to have music, and I don't want it to be some kind of, unta, 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 I want it to be something that's going to be, and with the creativity of Apple, and that's the other thing with this fitness app. If you want a certain style of music, you can, cross-reference. Okay, I want to do a HIIT workout with rock standard classic music. They've got it for you. If you want to do a workout just with one artist, they've got it for you. And I'm blown away by. And so, I upgraded I already had the Apple One package where I get, we have whatever it is, 4 terabytes of storage, and we have unlimited Apple Music. For an extra $12 a month, I get Apple Fitness Plus, and I get unlimited Apple News Plus, which to me, is been.
Yeah, I've talked to Tony about switching, because we have a Spotify premium account, for music. And truthfully, the only podcast that I wouldn't get with Apple would be the Joe Rogan podcast. But I think that with the free Spotify, I would be able to.
You get that with the free.
So I'm thinking about switching us over, because you're right. You get the news, and I love reading it on. Not trying to sound like an Apple fanboy here, but I've got an iPad. I don't have like the iPad Pro. It's just whatever gen. But reading the news app on the iPad when I do have the service is amazing. What you also get too is like magazines. So like I'm a big Men's Health guy.
Yep.
I love reading Men's Health. That's included with your membership. Like thousands of magazines.
Yep.
Apple Music is great. But no, as V said, in Apple TV, I'm a MLS. I watch soccer. Season pass is through Apple TV, so I have to have Apple TV anyway during soccer season. But no, like we said, if you're
I'll do one other free plug too. Before you're talking about MLS, I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but the guys who made Band of Brothers is releasing it just got released on Friday. I haven't watched it yet, but it's called Masters of the Air. Yeah,
it's got Austin Butler, a couple other younger up and coming guys. Yeah.
I want to watch that so bad. So
it looks amazing.
Anyway, I'm sorry for interrupting you. Go ahead.
No, you're good. But yeah, so for me, I have always liked group fitness stuff. It might just be because of my military background, or just, I liked, like PE was kind of my first introduction to fitness and being on sports teams. What's nice about Apple Fitness is that there are follow-along videos. So what that means is you can use your phone, your iPad, and you can even have it synced to where like some of the workouts can come through on your Apple Watch if you have it. Yep. But basically, if you don't have to plan anything, you can go, hey, I want to get in a 30-minute, 40-minute bike workout. They have a laundry list of workouts for you to just click play and you follow along and you just do it. So it's one of those things that even though in the past I've had, there's so much, and they're all follow along. So you just put your phone down You press play, it syncs up with your watch, and like V said, because it's Apple, they have licensing with actual artists. So what a program that I used to do that again. I mean, I'm sure you remember it. P90X. P90X
Yes.
was Tony Horton's. It was
Yep.
the first
Yep.
real video on,
That was
well,
hardcore
not
too.
first real video on demand workout program. You know, we had our Russell Simmons for that, but it was one where it was like, you got 90 days, get in shape. And it was a good program. However, it's the same 10 workouts. It's just like V said, it's and then so that's what it is. And you do that for 90 days. And for some people that works, but for a lot of people, the reason why they fall out of it is because it's the same
every day
workouts over. It's the same video. With Apple Fitness, they upload multiple different workouts every day, daily, and their library is already huge. So if you were to say, hey, you know what? I don't like, if you like getting on the stationary bike, which I love stationary bike workouts. I don't like creating them, but I like to have a coach tell me what to do while I'm on it. And so I can say, you could build a custom program on there that's like, I want to do 30 minutes of cycling a day, and it will pull up a program for you, and they continue to make them. So you will never have to do the same workout again.
So they have, this is
amazing.
So I've got the app pulled up right now. So this is just what you can choose from: meditation, strength, HIIT training, yoga, core, Pilates, dance, kickboxing, cycling, treadmill, rowing, mindful, and then they have a mindful cool down section. So, I mean, check it out. You know, I recommend it. But moving on to focus for this week, so on last week, the court on in a filing. What was it? January the 12th was the filing. The court allows the Border Patrol, Supreme Court ruled to allow the Border Patrol to cut Texas razor wire that was placed along the Rio Grande. And this basically came from, this was on the Biden administration came to the Supreme Court on, I'll just read this straight from, this is actually from the Supreme Court's blog. Came to court on January the 2nd asking the justices to intervene. U.S. Solicitor General Elizabeth Pregler told the court that the order by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit bars agents from doing their job, specifically from cutting or moving this wire to obtain access to the U.S.-Mexico border and reaching migrants who have already entered the U.S. territory, and so on and so forth. And so the court in a surprise 5-4 on a 5-4 decision of this super Republican court, we have a court that is going to basically upend this move by Governor Greg Abbott to protect this part of the border. And this all stems from, and I'll preface this. All this comes from when 3 migrants this happened on January 12th. So this is fresh. January the 12th, a woman and 2 children drowned on January 12th near this disputed area that you're talking about. And the Mexican government, on the Mexican side, they rescued 2 more who were suffering from hypothermia. But basically their implication is that the razor wire kept the border agents from getting and effectively doing their job. And so now what you have is, and this has been going on since last year, in Texas they have what's called Operation Lone Star. And this has been Governor Greg Abbott's attempt to close down the border to keep unvetted, undocumented illegals from coming into the country. And you have had, and this isn't something that has just happened over the last couple of days. You've had National Guardsmen from multiple states. I think it was 25, if I'm correct on that, Sean, 25 Republican states, I believe it was, who have sent their state National Guard troops to Texas to help basically police the border. And now the fear is this going, are we going to have, of course you have your Democratic fearmongers who are saying, oh, this is going to cause a civil war and troops are going to open fire on troops and blah, 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 and all this other stuff. This is turning into quite the poo show. And I for one, as a father of two legal immigrant children. Now, granted, they're from China, okay, but this is, and our friend Travis was always on this, that this is an overwhelming crisis, that the immigration policy that this current administration has employed is going nuts. Is straight up going nuts. But Sean, I don't know what your thoughts or feelings are on this as to where it's at right now.
No, you're absolutely right. It's I'm with you. I don't necessarily think that we're going to be getting into Civil War territory as much as it sounds like some of these people effing want it. Like, good Lord.
Yeah.
No, it's so the one thing I can say is it will be interesting on who is going to be the first push when it comes to shove. Because here's what we know of some of the interactions that there have been so far is you have the federal agents that are disputing with the Texas National Guard. Where I will give a bunch of credit to the Texas National Guard, they're not backing down, which I love. And this is why, again, this is a prime example. This is a prime example of why it was so smart of our founding fathers to give us a well-regulated militia. Because here's the thing. If this was just, let's say, a small town, let's say this is just a small town and their local police department, you think they'd be able to do anything if fully armed federal border agents and federal agents came rolling in to make demands? No, they wouldn't have the manpower. However, thanks to a well-regulated militia governed by the state, they do have the manpower. They do have the ability to step up to Big Brother and say, go fuck yourself.
Right.
This is, and here's the thing, like, there's some states where it makes me go, I wonder how this would be handled. But like, let's not act like Texas doesn't have its own GDP. Texas is pretty fully capable of doing a lot of things with the deep pockets that Texas has. Now, how long can they, withhold without, federal funding for certain things? I don't know. But it'll definitely be interesting. But I am in support. I am glad that Republican governors have come out and just said, we will heed the call if needed, because it is clear this is not an opinionated thing, in my opinion.
It's political,
but this will. What I'm trying to say is the Biden administration, whether you like the Biden administration or you don't like the Biden administration, has handled immigration policy poorly.
Yes.
Some would say horrific. I might be that some that would say this is the worst handling of immigration policy I have ever seen in my short life. Now, that's not debatable, because even if you agreed, even if you were like, hey, we should let immigrants in, the silence is rather deafening when it comes from his administration on how they've been handling things. I feel like if you think about it, what were some of the numbers? Over 8 million illegal immigrants. Mm-hmm. That is larger than the population of some 30 of our states, probably more. Not combined, but than the population of a handful of our states. So you look at this, and it is so much more than just we don't want illegal immigrants in our country. It is so much more than that. It is we talk about this all the time. It's like, hey, there's issues that we have going on here, but it's like, even for some of the immigrants that are coming over, eventually this well is going to tap dry. Like I won't name the individual, but I am friends with someone that I met through the military that lives in New York that regularly shops at a bodega in New York. That's like their go-to spot.
Mm-hmm.
They, in the last couple of months, have met two individuals that work for cash under the table at the bodega. Not a problem. I don't really have a problem with that. However, he has told me about their living conditions, and they live in a hotel, and they both get monthly stipends of like $3,600 a month. So they don't pay for where they live.
Right.
They're given a monthly stipend, and they're working.
Yeah.
I mean, who wouldn't want to come? Because if you're not paying New York rent, $3,600, like, you're good. You can work on top of that. Maybe you make that same amount. Maybe even if you make half that, you're telling me that if you don't have to pay rent, if you're not paying rent, if you can't get by in upwards of a little over 40,000 a year, that's it. It's things like that that are crazy to me. But
Well,
here we are. Here we are talking about it week after week.
So the I forgot what this this is from. Track Immigration, which is run by Syracuse University, released a report last year that said the top 5 destinations by in the United States where they're being shipped to. Okay, top 5 destinations. Number 1, of course, you said New York City. Between March 2021 to May 2023, there was 134,848. Miami-Dade County was number 2 with 114,408. Los Angeles, California, number 3, 74,854. Harris County, Texas, which is 4th, had 67,550. And Cook County, Illinois, Chicago, 3,600. 355. Now, where majority of these people are coming from, and this is New York City and Miami-Dade, the two. So this is where they are immigrants, where they're coming from during the Biden administration. This is just during the Biden administration. Cuba, Venezuela, Ecuador, Nicaragua, Colombia, Haiti, Russia, Peru, China, Georgia, India, Uzbekistan, Honduras, and Dominican Republic. And those are your top groups of where these people are coming from. And so everybody thinks, well, this is just a Mexican. Well, we're just, we're Mexican, we're anti-Mexican, we're all this other stuff. This is becoming an issue because I sent this to Sean just this evening, where I used to live at. Governor Pritzker announced recently an additional $160 million to address the state migrant crisis. Okay. And he said, and JB said, and this is about 24,000 migrants have been bused from border states and left in Chicago in the last 14 months. He says and he's given this, he's putting this into 3 different phases: the welcome phase, the shelter phase, and the independence phase. He says the welcome phase will cost $30 million. Both the shelter and independence will cost $65 million. And it says the state will build new shelter facilities and expand case management to expedite migrants becoming independent, which includes job assistance. Okay, now. I want to bring this up, okay? These people who are being bused. Let's talk about who this is. These are unvetted. Now, when we say vetted, we're talking about background. We're checking these people out. We're checking their aliases. We're making sure that they aren't, or when you vet someone, you're looking into their background, okay? And the policy that is in place works. And just to prove this point, I went today, just before the show, and you can go to, this is from cpb.gov. Customs and Border Protection. I'm quite familiar with this site. When we were in the adoption process, we had to go through this site. This whole thing about how, well, it's not working. We have a policy in place. Okay. So as of, let's see, in December 2023, the U.S. Border Patrol recorded 249,785 encounters between ports of entry along the southwest border. The CPP's total encounter along the southwest border in December were 302,034. Now, how this does work, when it works, when you do it the right way, okay, in that same month, okay, December through the end, so January 2023 to December of 2023, okay, 327,000 Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans arrived lawfully under the parole process. Specifically, more than 69,000 Cubans, 133,000 Haitians, 60,000 Nicaraguans, 87,000 Venezuelans were vetted and authorized for travel, and more than 67,000 Cubans, 126,000 Haitians, 53,000 Nicaraguans, 81,000 Venezuelans arrived and were granted parole. Okay? So the process works. The process works. And it angers me that when you go to, and this is the other thing that CPP puts on their website, is basically it says that, don't cross the border. Our message, I'm trying to find, I'd read this on their page here. But it basically says, our message to you is this: don't do it. Don't try an illegal crossing. Okay? Enter in then what is today? Today, we're recording this on the 29th. So this was 12 days ago. Okay? So the former director of ICE, Tom Homan, basically, I'm going to play a couple of clips here. I want to play a couple of these clips. And then this guy basically goes off on how people are bad-mouthing Border Patrol, how bad-mouthing, and how the process works. So I want to play a little bit of this, and then I've got two clips, but I'll play this first one, and then we'll talk about it, and we'll go to the next clip.
Stop building the wall, get rid of remain in Mexico, and release people when they get here. And that incentivizes people to come from, I think you said 181 countries, come to the border. Because they know there's no wall to get over, there's no wait in Mexico, and they're going to get released to wherever they want to go. Is that right?
Absolutely. The first few days in office, President Biden signed over 90 executive orders abolishing all the policies that were proven effective based on numbers. Anybody can go to cbp.gov and look at the numbers. But I want to address one thing real quick.
Sure.
I'm sick and tired of people in Congress talking about xenophobic and racist policy of the Trump administration. We enforce the law. If I'm a racist, what's that make Congress? They wrote the law. We're not making this up. We're enforcing laws enacted by Congress. Second of all, about the family separation thing, because talking about tearing babies out of mothers' arms. I'm the only one in this room who's been on that border. I'm the only one that's interviewed girls as young as 9 years old, been raped multiple times. You look in their eyes and they're dead. Their souls are gone. They have every ounce of what they think is humanity is gone because they were raped numerous times by criminal cartel members. I stood in back to a tractor trailer with 19 dead migrants at my feet, including a 5-year-old little boy. I've seen many dead bodies on the border. I've been down there numerous times this past year where Border Patrol are giving CPR to an infant child 6 months old. I've seen Border Patrol agents, heroes, patriots, who jump in the river with 60 pounds of gear on, putting their lives on the line to save lives. What the whole thing about zero tolerance was to save lives. Maybe if we prosecuted people, they stop bringing their children through that process. Maybe less people will die. Maybe less women will get sexually assaulted. That was the reason. It wasn't to tear babies out of mothers' arms, to prove a point and not reunite them, to make it cruel. That wasn't the purpose of the law. And there was nobody that saw that we aren't going to reunite them. We're just going to call this a terrible policy. That's a false statement. That's a lie. I was there. I was involved. Don't say that we had no intention of reuniting these families. It's ridiculous.
And so that, those of you who are listening on our podcast, I invite you to go. This guy gave, I don't know how long he was on there for a couple of hours, and this is just some of the highlights of what he had to say. But he said, the border policy is, and this is, like he said, on CBP's website says the same thing. This is for your safety. Don't try an illegal clause. We have a process. We have a parole process that you can go through. Now, granted, there's still some, our friend Travis has shared with us many times about how there's still holes in the system, but for a large part, it is working. It is working. And it shouldn't have to come down to. So now you enter into this position where, and I feel for these border patrol agents, because they literally have their hands tied behind their back. Their job is to protect the border, but yet now you have the Biden administration who's telling them, bring them on in, bring them in, bring them in, bring them in, bring them in. And don't turn them away. And then that puts Texas in a state of, okay, because we're handling the most of this, we have to put up this razor wire to protect our people from these unvetted illegals. So it's a catch-22, don't you think? I mean, how do you even begin to wrap your mind around this?
You don't. I wish I knew what the overall goal here was for some of these politicians. It'll be interesting to see if after we have this migrant wave of, if not, obviously it wouldn't happen this election cycle, but my next election cycle, if there are attempts to be made to change voting laws on
that's the other thing
on who can vote, what the requirements are. Because if you add, hypothetically, let's say you add 10 million people by the time it's all said and done to the country, and you find a way to change the law that, states that maybe you don't have to be a citizen to vote, or maybe you don't have to provide certain forms of ID or verification to vote. And, I feel like you might even have some ads of, remember who fought to allow you guys to get here, and,
well,
that kind of sway.
What really, let's get past the political part about this. I want to go back to this whole unvented thing. And I want to speak to one of the statements that this guy said about 9-year-old girls being raped. And when you have a vetted process, okay, let me say it this way: when you're just cycling these people in, and there's no check on the well-being of these people once you get them here, because I can only imagine that there's not enough caseworkers who are keeping tabs on each and every one of these individual people who are coming in. Okay, so whether these people are, let's say, drug mules, okay, we've seen the fentanyl crisis reach astronomical heights. Last week, one of the sons of I used to watch Pawn Stars all the time, Rick Harrison's youngest son, passed away from a fentanyl overdose. You're seeing the fentanyl crisis, this opioid crisis reach, and we know where it's coming from. It's coming from the border, okay? Human trafficking. These young girls, these young boys are coming in, and they're this whole thing about, well, they're what this guy said. They're being shown as being separated from their parents. Did we ever think about maybe they were separated from their parents before they even got to the border, and that they are sex slaves coming into this country. Yet when you allow the process to work, when you allow ICE and CPP to do their job and say, okay, let's look at the well-being of these people before we let them in. Let's let them go through the parole, what CPP calls the parole process. Let's let them go through. Okay, are these people tied to cartels in any way, shape, or form? Are these people tied to the drug cartels in any way, shape, or form? Are these children listed as missing or taken from their parents, are part of known sex trafficking rings? You know, if you let the process work, we alleviate a lot of this problem. But we're calling it the immigration crisis. And, whereas 2 years ago, when cities like San Francisco, New York, Houston, Chicago, give us your trying that whole Emma Lazarus thing from her poem on the Statue of Liberty. Give us your tired, give us your poor, give us your huddling masses yearning to be free. Okay, and they're trying that crap as to say, well, this is what America's about, and we're not giving them a chance. No, we're giving them a chance if they follow the rules. What you're wanting to do is circumvent the rules and allow these people to come in and be a harm to themselves. We don't know what we've got coming in. When you don't vet them, you don't know what's coming in. And I'm like this guy said, I'm not xenophobic. I am for protecting the people of the United States of America, though. Am I off on that? Is that off, or is that what do you think?
No, I definitely think it's, again, no matter what you say, people are always going to feel a certain kind of way about it. But I'm with you. I think that, hell, I wish we could vet some of the assholes that are here anyway.
Right. Right.
But unfortunately, it's like, look, I think we've talked about it before, where we are in agreement that the in-processing for becoming a citizen or to have access to citizenship should be easier than it is. That is, I think, universally agreed upon by most folks, that if, hey, you want to come into this country legally, welcome, open arms, let's make this happen. However, it's not that way. And things like this hurt the individuals that are trying to do it legally. It's a shame, but I'm with you, because it's one of those sad things where, look, I don't care what anybody says, you add 8 million people, there are going to be a couple bad eggs in that 8 million.
Yeah.
And we have already seen it in certain reaches where, one of the big ones, and I know, again, I cannot stress it enough that this is not everyone, or this is just how it is. But I know I have seen more than one, at least 2, possibly even 3 cases where there have been individuals who were murdered, mostly young women, murdered by individuals who came here illegally, were detained, and then released. And when they were released,
go out and do these.
We're still not legal.
Right.
They murdered innocent women. And I wouldn't doubt that there's a couple other bad eggs in that group of 8 million where similar things like that are going to continue to happen. There has to be a vetting process. There has to be a better way. And the funny thing is, look, I've said it before. If I knew my tax, if you told me that I had to pay a higher tax rate to secure the border, but make it easier for people, vetted individuals, you're going to pay more taxes so we could vet more individuals correctly to bring them into the United States, wouldn't have a problem with it at all, because that is my tax dollars going to good use. Because here's the thing. You could ask a New Yorker, hey, would you care if your taxes got increased so we could help vet illegal immigrants coming into the country so that we can get them here legally? I bet you could ask a lot of them right now, like, yeah, I absolutely would pay more, because guess what? Right now, individuals are getting $3,600 a month
Yeah.
just for being here.
Right.
So you bet your ass, I would love to pay a little bit more extra taxes. Just like right now in Kansas City, I would, if a tax collector came to my door and goes, "Can I have $20?" I will. We're if we can get 100,000 people in Kansas City to give us $20 right now, so we'll fix all the potholes in this town. Would I do it?
Right.
Absolutely,
Right.
I would do it. But guess what? They're still going to take that money, and ain't shit going to get done to the roads.
Right.
So that's just the folly of the system, and as good as our system is, it also definitely has its flaws.
Right.
But
I want
that's
to
what
play
makes us
before
home of
we-
the free and land of the brave.
We got about 10 more minutes. I want to play one more clip, and then we'll close it with the discussion on what this last clip is.
Thing. While we're sitting here talking today in this beautiful room, women are being sexually assaulted making this journey. A child is going to die today. Over 300 people are going to die from fentanyl poisoning that coming across the open border. When you take a vast majority of Border Patrol agents off patrol, off their national security duties, bad things happen. That's when the criminals come across. That's why did 1.9 million people didn't take advantage of the free giveaway? Why not turn yourselves in? Get processed, get transported to the city of your choice, get work authorization, get a hotel room, get 3 meals a day. Why did 1.9 million people say, no, I want to get away? Why? Because they didn't want to be vetted. They didn't want to be fingerprinted. That just scared the hell out of everybody.
Yeah.
I've done this for 34 years. I've never been more concerned about the safety and security of this country right now than I am right now because of 1.9 million gotaways. That scares the hell out of me.
And that kind of just reiterates the point that we just made. You know, and that goes to what you said. That goes to what you said earlier about, you know, turn yourselves in, that whole thing, you know, you're going to these hotels and you're getting these rooms, you know, and why not? Well, we've got you here. We've got you here. Go through our process now and become vetted. And what do you say? 1.9 million people have turned it down. And why have they turned it down? Because they don't want to be. That's more than, to quote you from what you said a while ago, buddy, you know, that's more than just a few bad eggs. That's a whole batch of rotten eggs right there. 1.8 or 1.9 million people who do not want to become vetted because they're afraid of what it's going to. And I'll tell you what, I'll give myself a little credit. Let's just say maybe, let's just say 1 million of those people are just afraid. Well, maybe they're, you know, when I got in the fight with that police officer, that'll come up. Or that time when the police raided my house and, you know, okay, that still leaves 900,000 people who don't want to become vetted for other reasons such as fentanyl, sex trafficking, whatever, you know. And the fact that this administration is allowing and is pushing for, you know, like I said earlier, you know, the thing in Texas is because of Biden's border policy. You forced Greg Abbott to do this. He's not doing this because he wants to. He's doing this because, you know, he's not doing this to hamper. I'm almost 100% sure that he's not doing this to hamper the efforts of Border Patrol agents. He's doing it to protect his border, his southern border. And the fact that we call it xenophobic, if you look, this is an inherent power of any sovereign nation.
Mm-hmm.
An inherent power. What I mean when I say inherent power, it is the power of any nation, regardless if you're Canada, you're Poland, you're Puerto Rico, you're whoever. You have the right as the government of that country to protect your borders. Why? So you can keep illegal, bad people out. And the fact that people on the left are using this as a reason to call people racist, and this disgusting thing of saying, well, the American flag, oh no, that just represents racism. Cut the crap. Really, let's just cut the crap. And let's, this just to me is just one of those sickening issues that is being used to divide Americans even further than what we already are. That if you support a secure border, you're a racist, which I think is totally ignorant.
No, it's 100%. It's 100% ignorant. And look, there's so much, I get why people are emotional. I get why people have feelings towards these kinds of things. And I wish it was a black and white answer.
It is.
It's not. The unfortunate thing is every day we sit by and do nothing, it gets worse and worse. It is okay to have a drastic decision be made, a drastic change overnight, and then work on fixing it. The problem is the drastic change was we opened the floodgates, and now the ship is sinking. Yeah. So, yeah, it's hopefully there'll be an answer, and hopefully it's not just we're going to build the wall, we're going to finish the wall I started. It's a great wall, one of the best walls I'd seen in years. Probably would put that wall out front of my house, Largo, keep the FBI out, digging through my files, couple documents, doesn't matter. Yeah, okay. Melania's great. She's great. She's raising Baron. Baron's 7'4". He'll fight off all the illegal Mexicans. He's great at fighting, great at beating up Mexicans. Might be on my cabinet. I don't know. Oh, is he old enough? I don't know. Oh, but that's the good thing. No more Mexicans in office. Trump 2024.
Hey, and one other thing to add while we're on that topic, it's now down to 2. It's now down to Nikki Haley and good old Donald. And,
I think after Nikki's little, you're going to work till you're 70 quote. Yeah, I think she, go ahead. You can work till you're 70, Nikki. You can dig your own grave, you fucking idiot.
You do that. That'll be a topic for another day. But before we close out, I do want to apologize for not having a show last week. We actually did record one last week, and I was trying to redo everything with our soundboard and everything. And we just had a lot of technical difficulties. And one other thing we have real quick, Sean, we mentioned this on the show that we were going to air last week. If you would kind of give the status of where we're at with Travis right now and kind of explain that to our listeners as well.
Yeah, so many of you guys know our third co-host, Travis Kirkendall. As of right now, he is taking a leave from the show. It is looking to be more permanent leave. This was not because of anything wrong, anything like that. Can't stress that enough. This was just his personal decision with the things that he has going on in his life with priorities, which from you guys that are dads, we completely understand. What is best for his mental health, what's best for his family. So as we've told him, the door is always open to return. We hope that one day he does decide to come back. But for now, at least, you are stuck with the two of us. So the show will go on. And hopefully, even if it's not a permanent thing, hopefully we will have Travis back on as a guest before too long. It sounds like there's some things that he still chomps at the bit for when it comes to some of the things that we discuss on this show still. So, he is doing well. He's doing great. At least you will see us next week.
Yep. Thanks all for joining. And as Sean always says, be a friend, tell a friend, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Voice of Reason podcast. Be sure to check out our other content on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok.